everyone, my name is Nikki. Hey, Valentine's Day is coming right around the corner and everyone loves to give sweet treats, but why not give a sweet treat that is homemade? Today, I'm gonna show you how you can put together a really sweet and simple Valentine's cake, and I'm gonna show you from step one. So what you're gonna need, first of all, is 2 baked cakes. Mine are 6-inch in size. I'm gonna also be using some disposable pastry bags. You're gonna need something called a coupler, along with a few different piping tips. Also a cardboard round, or if you have a cake stand, you can use that as well. To make your decorating easier, a cake turntable is really good. If you don't have that, no worries, just put it on a plate and just kind of spin it as you go. You don't need any fancy tools for this, but it is very simple and it's very fun, and who doesn't want a handmade sweet treat gift? So first things first, we're gonna want to take your coupler, and it comes in 2 pieces here. I'm gonna take my coupler, I'm gonna unscrew it, I'm gonna pop it down into my pastry bag. Pop it down as far as you can get it. Now just take a pair of scissors and you're just gonna kind of make a score mark in it. Then take your coupler, pop it down a little bit. You'll see that it started to cut it off a little bit. Just make a nice clean cut there. And then you're gonna pop that coupler all the way down. I like to get as much use as I possibly can out of my disposable bags. So a tip that I learned once upon a time when I was taking some cake decorating classes, was using some plastic wrap. So I'm gonna take some plastic wrap, and you're gonna create like little tubes of icing in here that you can put in here. Once you've used it all, you can remove and then drop another tube of icing in there. And what you're gonna do is take out your plastic wrap. I'm gonna take my already prepared homemade buttercream icing and pop it in here. And then we're just gonna roll it up kind of like a little sausage here and cut off the end, and take your pastry bag and drop it right on down into there. Squeeze it until it's gonna come down to the point. And now we're gonna go ahead and assemble our cakes together and do a crumb coat. Now I've had my cakes refrigerated, wrapped in saran wrap for a couple days in the refrigerator. You can freeze these for about 30 minutes or so just to make them a little bit more firm. I'm just gonna take a little dollop of my icing and put it on my cardboard round here and press my cake down. Now I'm gonna take the frosting and just do what I call like a little dam, and we're just gonna go around the center, kind of keep going to kind of fill up your layer. Now I'm gonna take an offset spatula and just smooth it out. Until I get a nice kind of even layer. And then I'm gonna take my second cake and plop it right on top. Before you assemble your cakes, you do wanna make sure that the tops are gonna be nice and flat. This still has a little bit of a roundness on top. I wanna make sure that it's nice and flat so that when I assemble the cakes and I go to ice it, everything is nice and clean looking. So I'm gonna use this cake leveler, and you'll just adjust it to the height you need it to be. And it's a really simple way to make sure that when you cut your cakes, you have a nice clean top. So next I'm gonna take this cake here and I'm gonna flip it upside down so that the bottom is on top, and we're just gonna simply place it on there, kind of eyeball it, and make sure that everything is nice in proportion and it's straight as can be, and then just kind of press it down. Next we're gonna do a crumb coat. So a crumb coat is exactly what it sounds like. It's just simply a thin layer of icing to help seal in the crumbs on the cake. So when you go to apply your second coating of frosting, everything is nice and smooth. So I'm gonna take my icing that's already in my piping bag here, and I'm just gonna kind of go around my cake. And on top, And now with my offset spatula, I'm just going to smooth it out. As best as I can to just seal that cake. So this is about how you want your crumb coat to look. It's just a very thin layer of icing, like I said, to seal in any crumbs to make for a better final coating. So we're gonna pop this in the fridge for about 15 minutes. So while the crumb coat, can't even talk. So while the crumb coat is in the refrigerator, I'm gonna use some deep red and just mix up a little bit of frosting that we're gonna add some hearts to the cake and do a little fun decorations. So oftentimes I don't like to use red too much because you do need a lot of the food coloring to get it to a nice red color. So I'm hoping that this small amount and this deep red that I have will not have to use too much, because otherwise then you get that kind of flavor of food coloring, and I don't like that. So let's see what we're gonna get. I did a couple drops in there, and it looks like it's gonna give it a nice red. The icing that I'm using is my homemade vanilla buttercream, and you can find that over on my website at createmakedecorate.com, and I will drop a link probably in the comment section for that. Very simple recipe to make, and very flavorful also. My cake is ready. I actually ended up putting it in the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes just to speed up the time process. And now we're gonna go ahead and just add that final layer of icing. And I got my pastry bag. I added another layer or another bag of icing to it. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put a generous amount all around the cake. My vanilla buttercream recipe yields about 3.5 to 4 cups. So I'm hoping I'm not gonna be a little bit shy on here. Okay, so now we're just gonna go ahead and smooth it out as best as we can here. I'm a little rusty. It's been a minute. We're not striving for perfection here. We're just striving for a nice, beautiful cake. A tip I learned a long time ago to also help get a smooth layer is to have a glass of hot water standing by, and you're gonna tap off the excess, and then you're gonna lightly take your spatula and scroll it around. The hot water just helps to kind of soften up the icing. To help ensure you get a nice smooth coat. And wherever there's some gaps in there, you're just gonna add some more of the icing to it. So what you're removing, you kind of want to save to add where you need it. Getting it perfectly smooth requires a lot of practice and a lot of patience. But I'm happy with how that is looking, because we're going to be piping on some hearts and some decorations around the border, so it'll help kind of disguise if you have any inconsistencies in there. Okay, now I'm going to swap out my bag, and it's as easy as this. You're just going to remove the icing that was in there. I already got the pre-mixed red one going on in here, and I'm just going to clip off the end. Pop it down into the pastry bag. And now I'm gonna add a tip on here, and this is an size 18 tip. And I'm gonna pop that into my coupler end here, and then we're just going to screw it on the tip here. You want to squeeze out a little bit because you'll have some of that white in there. So I'm just going to squeeze until I see nothing but the red. All right, now we're ready to begin trying the hearts. Now this is a first for me, so we're gonna do it together and figure it out. So I'm only gonna take like a little piece here and a little piece here, and we're simply going to make hearts all around the cake. So let's do that. I'm gonna start over here. So I'm going to take just like a little, almost like a little X. And we're gonna start drawing some hearts around it like that. Do one dab and one dab. Very easy to do. And it's creating the perfect heart, little hearts around it. That one ended up being a little bit wonky, so I'm gonna see if I could just scrape it off, which I can. So everything, you know, is for the most part very easy fixable. So right where it was, I'm just gonna redo that one. Okay, so I got, looks like the amount of hearts that I want around the cake. And now we're gonna add some other stuff on top. So now with the same tip, I'm just gonna pipe a border around the base. Very simple. Okay, like so. And now up top, I'm just gonna use what I have left in here and create some type of border on top. We're just gonna figure it out. And that was total luck because it ended up being exactly the exact amount that I needed. So when there's little peaks in the frosting, let it harden just a little bit and then just take your finger and kind of pop them down a little. But look how simple and cute this is, you guys. So now I do have some sprinkles. So we're gonna take some of our sprinkles and sprinkle them right on top. The more sprinkles, the better. Sprinkles are just fun, and it makes, I think it makes the cake even look so much more inviting to want to eat when you have a bunch of sprinkles on there. So now all I'm doing where I see that the icing is kind of popping out a little bit, like right here, I'm just going to take my finger and just kind of pop it down. It's better when the frosting is kind of starting to crust over a little bit. And here's the final cake. I love how this turned out. It was so simple to make. I hope it inspired you all to make and decorate a cake for your sweetie for Valentine's Day. Thanks for watching.